The Texas Longhorns survive and advance. What a game. Texas escapes Arizona State in the college football playoff quarterfinal at the Chick-Fil-A Peach Bowl. 39-31, the final score. In double overtime, the Longhorns find a way to knock off Arizona State and advance to the Final Four of the college football playoff for the second straight year. And we'll be talking all about it right here on the BK Show. I hope everyone is having a great day so far. If you're a Texas Longhorn fan, it's been a stressful day. Oof. Thankfully, the Longhorns found a way to get the job done down the stretch against Arizona State. We now know that Texas will take on Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl next Friday, while the Buckeyes looking really impressive in a 41-21 victory over Oregon at the Rose Bowl. That game just wrapped up a few minutes ago, and Ohio State has opened up as a favorite without any surprise against Texas for that game next Friday. So we'll talk more about that game a little bit later in today's show and here in the future on the BK Show. This video is going to be about the Longhorns against Arizona State. And boy, if there's such thing as a frustrating win, that was a frustrating win for Texas. I don't even know where to begin. Like, do we start with Bert Auburn? Do we start with some of the stupefying play calling from Steve Sarkisian? Do we start with the defense completely falling apart in the fourth quarter? Do we start with ESPN not showing the start of Gunnar Helm's game-winning touchdown catch in the second overtime? I don't know where we begin. There's so much to unpack from the Longhorns win. And, for a while, this looked like a game that we weren't going to have a lot to talk about. Right? Texas went up 14-3 after the first quarter. They were up 17-3 at halftime. And early in the fourth quarter, they were up by 16 points. Like, it felt like Texas, even though it wasn't always perfect, felt like they had done enough to take control through the first three quarters and change. But things got out of control very, very quickly in that fourth quarter. Arizona State goes back-to-back. They score touchdowns in the span of 91 seconds to turn a 16-point deficit into a tie game. Then you got Bert Auburn going full shit show Bert, missing 2 field goals late in the fourth quarter, including a doinker at the end of regulation, a kick that would have given Texas the win without needing overtime. And Bert Auburn, my God, missed one right, missed one left. That guy, this should not be Texas's starting kicker when the Longhorns take the field next Friday against Ohio State. It didn't look like there was going to be a lot to talk about, right? Once again, Texas was up by 16 points. It felt like everything had to go wrong for Arizona State to have a chance in this football game. And sure enough, everything went wrong. And look, you got to tip your cap to Arizona State. They were a lot better than I thought they were. I think they were a lot better than most Texas fans thought they were. They were a lot better than I think most college football fans thought they were. I mean, Texas was, a 13 to 14 point favorite going into this game today. I think most people kind of expected the game to look like the way the first quarter looked, where Texas was just in control and Texas was just the better team. And Arizona State, they just kept getting up off the mat time after time after time, like a Cyndi Lauper song. Credit to Kenny Dillingham. He outcoached Steve Sarkisian today. He did. I know Sark gets the last laugh because his team won, but Kenny Dillingham executed his game plan to damn near perfection today. A lot of credit to him. That guy's only 34 years old. Arizona State's got a very, very bright future with Dillingham at the helm. That guy, I mean, what a year he's had, and what a turnaround for that ASU football team that went 3-9 last season in year one of the Kenny Dillingham era. He was great. Obviously, Cam Scatterboo, I'm mad at myself for going 4 minutes and 22 seconds into this thing without talking about that guy. I mean, he was incredible. 143 rushing yards, 99 receiving yards. How about 42 passing yards as well for Cam Scatterboo? That guy was throwing up on the sidelines during the game. I thought he was concussed, some of the hits that he took, and they kept showing him on the sideline like he looked injured. He looked sick. He looked like he had nothing left to give, and yet he kept trotting out on the field, and he got stronger as the game went on. Like somehow him getting sick or hurt or both made him even better in the second half of that football game. You talk about leaving it all out on the field. Cam Scadaboo, he earned a fan today. I think he earned a lot of fans across the country, but there are a lot of Texas fans who obviously would not be feeling this way if Texas had lost the game. But I think some Texas fans who were impressed by Cam Scadaboo, and he showed me a lot today with his performance. And so did Sam Leavitt, the Arizona State quarterback. Look, it's not the sexiest stat line you'll ever see. 24-46, 222 yards, no touchdowns. Obviously threw the interception at the end that gave Texas the win in double overtime. But Sam Leavitt, that guy was running for his life. He was impossible to bring down. I mean, Texas was getting pretty consistent pass rush. They just couldn't get home. They couldn't hit Sam Leavitt. That guy was a whirling dervish back there, just somehow, some way made everybody miss like 5 or 6 times over the course of this game today. So very impressed by Sam Leavitt. 282 total yards. Obviously, his legs were a factor. Had that 28-yard run on the QB keeper in the second half. 60 rushing yards for the game. That guy, and he was smart with the football, right? Obviously chose a bad time to turn it over, but played mistake-free football against by far the best defense he's seen this year, and in by far the biggest game he's played in his football career. Sam Leavitt, Cam Scadaboo, Kenny Dillingham, really everybody on that Arizona State sideline. Tip of the cap to you guys. That was an impressive performance that I didn't think Arizona State had in them. Thank you all for watching, by the way. New channel. Please spread the word. Like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't. And let your friends and family know about what we've got going on here on the BK Show. Going to be doing daily content in addition to the Texas Sports Unfiltered content that most of you guys and gals I'm sure know about. Starting this channel for some more daily content. We'll have some great interviews on this channel as well. So check this thing out. And also want to get y'all's thoughts, your biggest takeaways, and any questions or comments you have from the Longhorns 39-31 win. Longhorn in Omaha asks, who's our backup kicker? Is it Will Stone? Yeah, I think it is. Now, Will Stone, the kickoff specialist for Texas, has done a pretty damn good job at that this season. You know, after the SEC title game against Georgia, a game where Bert Auburn missed a couple of field goals, Texas lost in overtime, Will Stone posted a video to his Instagram account of him kicking field goals, against nobody, but he was kicking field goals and he was making some long-range field goals on his Instagram. I went and listened to Steve Sarkisian's post-game press conference, and unfortunately, nobody asked Sark about the future of the kicker position. But when you're playing Ohio State next week, I don't know how anybody can feel good about Bert Auburn when he trots on the field. And before today, the one saving grace of Bert Auburn was he hadn't missed a field goal inside of 40 yards. He had been very bad from 40 plus. So the fact that he missed that 48-yarder earlier in the game, that didn't surprise me because that guy has missed a lot from beyond 40. But inside of 40 yards, he had been perfect this season. Texas gets close enough to make it a 38-yard field goal on the final play of regulation. And whatever Steve Sarkisian said in that little pep talk he gave Bert Auburn clearly did not work at all. I don't know if he tried to intimidate him, like, hey, if you miss this, we're bringing in a portal kicker in the offseason. Or if you miss this, we're pulling your scholarship. I don't know what he said. Probably wasn't that. Probably tried to give some sort of confidence to Bert Auburn, but it didn't work. And Steve Sarkisian tried to help out his kicker because Bert Auburn has sucked from the right hash all season long. So with like 6 or 7 seconds left, Texas runs one more play where Quinn Ewers kind of falls. Pretty fitting for the way Texas played. Instead of like taking a knee in the middle of the field, he trips and falls, but did move the ball a little bit more to the left to try to help his kicker out. And funny enough, Bert Auburn ends up missing left. He hits the left upright. So there's got to be an open competition at practice over the next week and a half. Maybe Bert Auburn wins it. Maybe Will Stone's not good enough. Maybe whoever else Texas has on the roster isn't good enough to beat Bert Auburn. But you can't just not do anything about the kicker spot right now. Like, it cost you against Georgia, and it nearly cost you in the playoff game today. It cost you one championship, conference title, almost cost you a national championship today. You cannot rely on Bert Auburn. He's got to cut his hair. He's got to go back to walk on Bert. I don't know if any of those things will help at this point. I think he might be too far gone. I think Bert Auburn is broken at this point. And yeah, you're playing close games this time of the year. That's how it works. Every point is crucial. And boy, Texas nearly lost this game because of Bert Auburn's mishaps down the stretch. So we'll see what happens there. But obviously, look, special teams, a huge story in this game. You can't completely dunk on the Texas special teams because they had a punt return touchdown in this game. Shout out to Silas Bolden, 75-yard punt return touchdown in the first quarter. That gave Texas a pretty big lead. That was an awesome moment. I mean, Texas went up 14-3 in this game, like with only 2 offensive plays. The Longhorns marched down the field with ease on their first offensive possession, and then you get a 3 and out, and you get the punt return touchdown, and you got people tweeting like, "Oh, thanks for coming out, Arizona State." You got people saying that, "Oh, why did we give Arizona State a first-round bye?" It felt like Texas was in control. Didn't happen. But that was good for the special teams, but way too much bad. And look, Jeff Banks, I feel like Jeff Banks should donate half of his salary to the Texas One Fund, to charity, to somebody that's not himself. I can't say he needs to donate the whole thing because he's the tight ends coach, and Gunnar Helm is having arguably the best season a Texas tight end has had in school history. Gunnar Helm caught the touchdown in the second overtime. Gunnar Helm's been amazing. The tight end position has been great this season. So that half of Jeff Banks' job has been great. But the other half of the pole assassin has done a horrible job with special. Arizona State was a bottom 4 special teams unit in college football going into today. And, well, they had a fake punt. That worked. Their kicker actually made 2 field goals, did get 1 blocked. Their punter was a lot better. I mean, somehow, some way, Arizona State is one of the worst special teams in the country, if that makes sense. And yet Texas one-downed them with the way that they played. And I don't know how much credit I'm going to give Jeff Banks for Silas Bolden, because Silas Bolden was an elite punt returner at Oregon State before transferring here. The kicker sucks. The punter sucks. You also had a holding penalty on Warren Roberson on a punt return, which sucked. Special teams just continues, to be an issue for this Texas team. And when you're playing good teams and when you're playing these close games, the third facet of the game can determine who wins or who loses. Take a drink of water here. I'm dying. This game's got me losing my voice here. When you're playing these close games at this time of the year, you need your special teams to show up. And Texas didn't do enough. Once again, punt return touchdown, great. Ethan Burke, our guy, great, but too much wrong with the special teams today. Jeff Banks is not earning his paycheck with that point. Cameron asks, what's your confidence in Ewers and his overall performance? I thought Quinn Ewers was really good today, guys. And when the going got tough, late in the fourth quarter and in overtimes, where Texas really needed somebody to step up and make some plays, Quinn Ewers stepped up and made some plays. How about this? In the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter and in the 2 overtime periods, Quinn Ewers was 11 of 14, 161 yards, and 2 passing touchdowns. Obviously, the 2 touchdowns in overtime, including the game winner to Gunnar Helm. The stat line for Quinn Ewers is pretty good. 20 of 30, 322 yards. That's his second highest passing yardage performance of the season. 3 touchdowns. Did have the interception. We'll get to that in a second. But Quinn Ewers also had a rushing touchdown as well on a big 3rd and goal in the early in the fourth quarter of this game. So, look, it wasn't perfect. The Texas offense had its issues, but Quinn Ewers, once again, when Texas absolutely needed him, he stepped up. Kind of the opposite of the SEC championship game, right? Like, Quinn Ewers did not play well late in the fourth quarter and in overtime against Georgia. He did everything right in this game. And look, Quinn Ewers should have won this game in regulation. He put Bert Auburn in position to make field goals twice down the stretch. He marched Texas down the field with some big conversions and got Texas into scoring range twice. And the idiot kicker couldn't help him out. So, I really liked what I saw from Quinn Ewers today. The interception, that can't happen. That is as much on Sark as it is on Quinn Ewers. I couldn't figure out that play call, guys. You'll have to help me with this one. So Texas gets the ball back. This is after Arizona State's first fourth quarter touchdown and 2-point conversion. So it's 24-16. Texas gets the ball with 6.5 minutes left. And my mind flashed back to the A&M game. And my mind flashed back to the Arkansas game and to the Kentucky game, where like Texas got the ball in similar situations in the fourth quarter with the lead. And they basically said, we're going to run it on every single play because we don't think you can stop it. And I was expecting Texas to do that. And on the first play of the drive, Trey Wisner, 6 yards up the gut. Okay, you take that every single time. I'm thinking Texas is about to run it again right here. But instead, they call a pass play. And I don't know if Isaiah Bond was the first read, but obviously Isaiah Bond is going on a deep post route. Quinn Ewers thinks he can hit him. He can't. It turns into an interception. And then literally 3 plays and 37 seconds later, Arizona State gets in the end zone, and then they get the 2-point conversion to tie the game. So, look, Quinn got greedy. As Longhorn in Omaha says, yeah, he could have thrown it underneath. He could have done anything else besides that. So I'm not absolving Quinn Ewers of any of the blame on that play. But I have no idea, considering what Texas did in those 3 games that I talked about. Like, they iced those 3 games in very similar situations by just leaning on this Joe Moore Award finalist offensive line, which we'll get to them at some point as well, and banking on the running game to get the job done. And they didn't even try. Like, look, if you run it on that second down and you get stopped, then okay, throw it on third down. Like, pick up the first down. I get it there. But to run it for 6 on first down and then to throw it 40, 50 yards down the field on second down when obviously you didn't need it, that one is a lot on Sark, a lot on Quinn Ewers. And I thought Sark had a pretty rough game calling some plays, but he didn't get a lot of help from the guys around him. How do I feel about the Ohio State matchup, Josh? Not very good. Not very good. I do think Vegas is overreacting a little bit with what they've seen from Ohio State in the playoff and what they saw from Texas today. Man, Circus Sports had Ohio State open up as a 5.5-point favorite, which, look, I get it. Ohio State's the best team in the country since the playoffs started. And to do what they did to an undefeated Oregon team today, very, very impressive. But, this is an Ohio State team that literally 2 games ago lost to a Michigan team that Texas went on the road and beat by like 30. So, look, if Ohio State plays the way that it did today and Texas plays the way that it did today, then yeah, Ohio State's going to win and they're going to cover. But if the good Texas shows up and the hit or miss Ohio State, which we've seen at times this season, shows up, then the Longhorns have a chance. The Buckeyes should be favored, though. This is not an argument that Texas should be the favorite in this game. Ohio State should absolutely be favored. I think 5.5 is a little bit too much, especially considering this will be as close to a home game as you can get in the college football playoff for Texas. But early thoughts, like if you're asking me to pick a winner, 9 days out from kickoff, I would pick Ohio State. Like, I'm just glad Texas's season didn't come to an end today. Pretty terrified that it will come to an end in the semifinal round of the first ever 12-team CFP. Keep the questions coming, guys. Appreciate the love. Starting this channel out, trying to grow this channel a little bit. If y'all could, please spread the word to friends and family. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Excited about this thing. I promise you guys won't get stuck with just me on every single BK show. We're going to talk to some other great Texas YouTubers, some Texas insiders, some recruiting experts. It's going to be a lot of fun on this channel. So really looking forward to everything we've got planned, and you guys are obviously a huge part of it. Cameron asks a couple questions, BK. How come Texas can't put together a full 4-quarter game? What happens in the third? Yeah, I don't know how to explain these third quarters, guys. Texas was outscored 5-0 in the third quarter today. And if you go back to the last 6 games, this is not just a 1-off or a 2-off. The last 6 games, Texas has been outscored 43-6 in the third quarter. 43-6. And Arizona State only scored 5 points. Obviously, you had the safety in there and then a field goal drive. But they had some long drives in that third quarter. An 11-play, 60-yard drive that ended in a goal line stand, which the safety happened right after that. Then the field goal drive was 11 plays for 50 yards. That took almost 7 minutes off the clock. And then the first drive Arizona State had in the fourth quarter was a 10-play, 75-yard drive. So even though it wasn't that lopsided on the scoreboard, 5-0, like the wheels really started to come off for Texas right after halftime. And I don't know, guys. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, this wasn't an issue in the first half of the season. Hell, like Texas, last year for Texas, they got off the slow starts, right? I think of their playoff loss last year to Washington. Slow start, got hot in the second half, made it interesting down the stretch. This is not like a Steve Sarkisian tenure problem, but this has obviously become a massive, massive problem this season. Texas has been one of the best first half teams in America. They're top 10 in first half points per game, but they just fall off a cliff in the second half of games. And it cost them against Georgia in the SEC title game. And obviously, it nearly cost them today against Arizona State, blowing a 16-point fourth quarter lead. I don't know what is being said at halftime. I don't know what's being done at halftime. I don't know if these guys are showering. I don't know if these guys are playing video games. I don't know if they're laughing it up or chopping it up. Maybe they're like too serious. Maybe they need to relax a little bit, because I think it's definitely in their head at this point. Like, Texas is too good of a football team to be consistently inconsistent in the third quarters like they have been. So I think it's part mental at this point. And can you turn that around with 1 or 2 games left in the season against Ohio State and then either Georgia, Notre Dame, or Penn State? I don't know. I don't know if it's possible, but yeah, it was a whole second half issue, not just a third quarter issue today. But once again, the train started coming off the tracks in quarter number 3. The run game today was a disaster. Josh asked, why aren't we implementing Arch more? Yeah, this was a weird game, and Sark talked about it in his post-game press conference. Like, Texas, in a 4-quarter game with 2 overtimes, so a 6-quarter game, Texas only had 60 plays on offense. Like, they held the ball for 22 minutes. Arizona State, this goes back to my earlier point about Kenny Dillingham just implementing a perfect game plan and executing it almost to perfection. Texas didn't have the ball that much. And I think Steve Sarkisian was like, these plays are at a premium right now. I don't want to put my redshirt freshman backup quarterback in the game when I don't know how long our offense is going to have the ball. I don't know if that's an answer that's going to satisfy you, Josh. I would have liked to have seen Arch Manning today because the Texas run game wasn't good. Like, Quinn Ewers played a very good game, I thought. But just to get something going in the run game to try to help Quinn out, I would have loved to have seen Arch get a couple of snaps today, and he didn't. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest reason. Like, no one asked Sark that in the post game, but I really think it was he just, like, his offense didn't have the ball long enough, and he was a little nervous to take his 3-year starting quarterback off the field because, if Arch came in on one play and screwed something up, turned it over, whatever, then that could have been the difference in the game. So you're not the only person who's feeling that way, Josh. I would have liked to have seen Arch at least a little bit because the Texas run game ran for 1.8 yards per carry today. And that's where, a lot of people, and I know I've already used this word a few times, but a lot of people have used the word inconsistent when talking about the Longhorns here in 2024. I don't know what to do with this offensive line. Like, Cam Williams was missed today. Trevor Gooseby had his worst performance as a Texas Longhorn, and he's been really good. But a couple of false starts for him. Texas had 10 penalties, a lot of those on the offensive line. Even Kelvin Banks had a false start, and those penalties were coming at inopportune times, too, in the fourth quarter and in overtime. The penalties were bad, and then, Texas just got 0 push up front. So 240-plus against Kentucky, against A&M, and against Clemson, but against Georgia, 1.7 yards a carry? And then here against Arizona State, it was a whopping 1.8 yards per carry. The outside zone, like, that's a big staple in the Steve Sarkisian offense. When it works, Texas can go off on the ground. We've seen it. Hell, in those 3 games I just talked about, it worked. And that's why Texas was able to rush for 2 bills plus in those games. But when it doesn't work, it's pretty miserable to watch. And that was the case today. 30 carries for 53 yards. Trey Wisner, 18 carries for 45 yards. Try to pull up the box score here and see what his longest run of the day was. About 7 yards. That was the longest run of the day for anybody. Quinn Ewers had the second longest run on his 6-yard touchdown scamper early in the fourth quarter. So not one first down run for Texas today, or one run that went 10 yards. Y'all know what I mean. I don't know how to explain it. The O-line got no push. Credit Arizona State. Those guys, I said it leading up to the game. They don't have the talent that Texas does. They don't have the size that Texas does. I mean, none of the D linemen on Arizona State are 300 pounds, which is why I thought Texas was going to be able to kind of impose their will up front. Those guys are feisty. Like, I don't know if there's a team in the country this year that got more out of its roster than Arizona State. Those guys are high motor guys. They are smart football players, and they're just relentless. So it blows my mind that Texas couldn't win in the trenches, really on either side, but especially on offense. And yeah, like Quinn Ewers, thank God Quinn Ewers had a good game today, because if Quinn Ewers played like he's played in some games this season and Texas runs for 53 yards, like if Quinn Ewers plays the way he did against Georgia in that first game and the Texas run game is this, then season's over and we're performing the autopsy on the 2024 Texas Longhorns. Yeah, they got to get something from their run game, because Ohio State's defense is the best defense in college football. It is. It's not Texas's anymore, guys. I'm sorry. It was going into the playoff, but you have your two worst defensive performances in back-to-back games in the college football playoff, and then you see what Ohio State did to Tennessee and then to Oregon. The Buckeyes have better numbers, and the eye test right now is telling me that that's the best defense in college football. So if you're planning on running for less than 2 yards a clip next Friday night at Jerry World, then we'll have to plan on doing a post-game autopsy next Friday after that game, because that will be the end of the Texas football season. They have to find a way to get the ground game going a little bit, and it starts up front. It absolutely starts up front. I thought we could have seen more screens, right? I call it screen Sarkisian all the time, because when the run game's not working, he'll call a couple of screens, and he did. It's not like there were no screens today, but Jaden Blue had one catch for 11 yards. I thought he could have been more of a factor in the passing game today. Trey Wisner did catch a 24-yard screen in the first half. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. Like, okay, your running backs aren't picking up yards on the ground. Do something about it. Get Arch Manning in the game. There's number one. And then number two, find a way to get your running backs, who are playmakers, get them the ball in space a little bit more. And yeah, just Texas, they didn't. They couldn't get into a rhythm. Maybe that was part of the game plan, but because the way things shook out, we just didn't see it enough. So they've got to get the running backs more involved. Starts on the ground, but in the passing game too. We know what Wisner and Blue can be through the air, and just didn't see enough of it today. All right, keep the questions coming, guys. Appreciate the love. We'll go till about 9 o'clock. We'll roll for an hour here, as long as you guys keep chiming in. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Let's see. Where do we leave off? Which QB played better, in my opinion? I'll go with Quinn Ewers because of what he did in the fourth quarter and in overtimes. Like, Sam Leavitt didn't make a lot of mistakes today, but he made a costly one. Interception in the second overtime to seal the game. Meanwhile, Quinn Ewers 11 of 14, 2 touchdowns in the final 5 minutes of regulation and in overtime. So no disrespect to Sam Leavitt. That guy backed up his trash talk. Now, I don't think he was better than Quinn Ewers. He said he was out to prove that he's better than Quinn Ewers. He didn't do that today, but very impressed by the moxie, the toughness, the athleticism of the kid today. I'll go with Quinn Ewers, though, with the better performance. But once again, ASU's quarterback, that kid's a redshirt freshman. Like, future's pretty bright for that team, and I think future is pretty bright for him. Yeah, no holding calls. Yeah, it's like the refs called a lot, but they didn't call enough. Like, Texas had 10 penalties, Arizona State had 6. So it's not like they left the flags in the pocket. No, Texas had 2 penalties last week. It wasn't like what we saw against Clemson. There were a lot of flags thrown in this game today, but 0 holding penalties on either team. The targetings, like, Texas kind of dodged a bullet on that no-call Michael Taft targeting. Now, you can look at the rule book. You can say that that's not a targeting. I feel like more often than not, that's a targeting. But I also feel like on the play where Quinn Ewers threw his interception, I thought Isaiah Bond got targeted, if you can use that like that. So I thought both of those were going to be targeting penalties, and neither of them were called. So those didn't get called. Cam Scatteraboo got away with an obvious OPI on his deep pass, not the one he threw, the one he caught, where you also had a Michael Taft face mask. They got 2 penalties on Michael Taft. The face mask you had to call. That was a clear one. But Cam Scatteraboo got away with the push-off, and somehow, some way, that was an OPI. Or excuse me, that was a DPI on Michael Taft there. But point about the refs, yeah, they didn't call holds on either team when they definitely could have. They didn't leave the flags in the pocket on the targeting. I guess that was the replay official decided that he just wasn't going to call targeting in this game today. Yeah, it was weird. It was a weirdly officiated game. Not one that I would have wanted to officiate. I don't really want to officiate any games, but I think a pretty tough one for the refs to officiate. And Texas, they got to clean it up. I mean, Bucky and I had our pregame show for Texas Sports Unfiltered at Posse East. And literally, Bucky's 3 keys to victory were contain Cam Scatterbo, run the football, and play a clean game. 0 for 3. XXX. We're giving the Steve Harvey family feud triple X right now. Cam Scatterbo went off. Texas couldn't run the ball, and the Longhorns had double-digit penalties in this game today. Look, Arizona State deserves a lot of credit. This wasn't one of those like, oh, this game was only close because Texas did all of these things wrong. But Texas didn't help itself out because of all of the things that it did wrong today. So, yeah, frustrating. A lot of the things that we wanted to see from Texas, we didn't see. And again, the Texas defense, they have played their 2 worst games of the season in the college football playoff. You want to be playing your best football at the right time? The Texas defense is not doing that. Now, today, a little bit more explainable than what happened against Clemson because, well, they were on the field forever. I mean, Arizona State had the ball for more than 20 minutes in the first half. Even though Texas was up 17-3, the Longhorn offense was barely on the field. Like the defense was getting worn down, and then ASU for the game had the ball for 38 minutes plus the 2 overtimes. The Texas D just looked gassed down the stretch. 510 yards allowed, 31 points allowed. That's the most they've given up in a game this season. 24 in regulation, which is tied for the second most they've given up in regulation this season. So some goal line stands, some 4th down stops. Texas had 3 of them. They continue to bow up a lot when they absolutely need to. It's been a bend, don't break defense a lot this year. But just, I mean, 500 plus yards. And then to allow Cam Scatterbo, I thought was going to go for like 80 or 90 yards today. I thought Texas was going to keep him in check. And maybe he would have gone for like 110 all-purpose yards. Instead, he goes for, 143 plus 99. That's, shit, I shouldn't have started that. 242 plus 42. It's 284 yards for Cam Scatterbo as a rusher, as a receiver, and as a passer. That is incredible. That guy is amazing. Amazing player. And I'm glad I don't have to hate him for the rest of my life. Because if Texas would have lost this game, then I would have to hate Cam Scatterbo forever. And now, it's like, oh, I could still, almost like Ndamukong Suh in that 09 Big 12 championship game, where I think I still kind of hate that guy. But like that guy just terrorized the game. He wrecked the game and nearly single-handedly beat Texas in that matchup against Nebraska in Arlington. But Texas found a way to win, so it's like it doesn't really keep me up at night. If Arizona State won this game today, Cam Scatterbo would have been keeping me up at night. And that's like the whole opinion of this Texas football season changed because of 4th and 13 in overtime. I mean, really, like if Texas loses today as a 13-point favorite, that would have been the biggest upset in the history of the college football playoff. No double-digit favorite has ever lost. It literally would have been the biggest upset in the history of the college football playoff from a number standpoint. And we would have had to hear about how we lost to a Big 12 team. All the old Big 12 schools would have been dunking on Texas. You can't beat the Big 12. And yeah, I mean, it would have been a long 7 or 8 months. And even though Texas did a lot of really good things this season, if they lose to ASU, I think most people call this season a failure. Like you forget about all of the good things that Texas did because they couldn't win this game. Now, I don't think anyone's going to be thrilled if Texas loses to Ohio State, but you can stomach a loss to Ohio State in the semifinal after 2 playoff wins a little bit more than you can stomaching a loss to Arizona State after just 1. So the whole conversation about 2024 Texas football changed because of the Longhorns getting it done and 4th and 13. I mean, thank God for Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden is what Isaiah Bond was supposed to be. Like Texas obviously cared a lot about both of those guys. They went after Golden hard in the portal, and I don't think a lot of people were talking about him nearly as much as they should have been. And they weren't talking about him as much as Isaiah Bond. Bond came for Bama, and he had that huge 4th and 31 touchdown against Auburn, and Bama made it to the playoffs. So more people saw Isaiah Bond play than Matthew Golden. They were thinking Isaiah Bond was going to be the transfer receiver to really make an impact for this team. It's become Matthew Golden. 7 catches, 149 yards, and that touchdown on. That's the biggest play since what, guys? That's the biggest Texas play since. How far back do you have to go? 4th and 13 in overtime. I thought the game was over. Everyone did. The way the offense was going, Arizona State had all the momentum. It just felt like, the football gods aren't on your side today. Your kicker can't make anything. You're going to lose. And then Matthew Golden with the double move. Shimmy shakes the defensive back. Quinn Ewers with a perfect throw. Arizona State brought a blitz. The offensive line wasn't great today, but they picked up that blitz. And a great read by Quinn Ewers, who apparently audibled. He saw a cover 0 look. He changed up the play and got the matchup he wanted with Matt Golden. That was awesome. The New Year's Black Eyed Peas came through. The good luck was on Texas' side today. I didn't think so, but then 4th and 13 happened, and it was like, whoa. That was special. I'll think of it before tomorrow's show, but that's the biggest Texas play in a long, long time. With everything that was on the line, wow. And, of course, if the Longhorns end up playing for and winning a national championship, that's a play that will be an important one to show on the DVD. They still make those? They still make those Super Bowl / championship DVDs that you can buy? I'll buy it. Shit, if there's one for Texas this year, I think everybody tuned in right now will buy it as well. Cameron asks, appreciate all the questions, guys. Cameron, especially you, man. Thanks so much. What surprised me the most on both sides of the ball? Texas not being able to run it. Like I thought Texas was going to run for 200 plus today. I thought because Arizona State, even though they had a top 25 run defense statistically, because they're so undersized up front, and because Texas, I thought they had found something in their run game against every team not named Georgia. I thought the Longhorns were not going to have any issues running the football today. And I thought Texas was going to be the team, not to have it for 38 minutes like Arizona State did, but I thought Texas was going to be able to hold their own in the time of possession battle, and that was not the case. On defense, Sam Leavitt, I thought they'd do a better job against Cam Scadaboo, but one of the best players in the country, looking like one of the best players in the country. I can't be too shocked by that. They couldn't tackle Sam Leavitt, that son of a bitch. Like that, they kept getting close. Time and time again, they were right there. And it's not like he's, juking out like all these fat guys. It's like Anthony Hill couldn't get him. Leon Galafau couldn't get him. Jahdae Barron couldn't get him. Andrew Makuba couldn't get him. Michael Taft couldn't get, all of these all-conference / all-American / NFL players on this Longhorn defense couldn't tackle Sam Leavitt, a Michigan State transfer in his first year as a starting quarterback, playing in the biggest game of his life. So that, Leavitt, once again, you give him a ton of credit for it, but the fact that just Texas could not hit that guy, they did sack him 3 times, so it's not like they got completely skunked, but they could have had 7 or 8 sacks. It could have looked like Ohio State's defense against Oregon if they just were able to corral that guy in the backfield. They couldn't do it, so that was a big surprise. Bijan's Lambo says, ooh, nice. Good get. Well done. Must be fun being in that car. How would you rate the Texas defense? C. Yeah, that feel. I'll go C+ for the Texas defense. Maybe I'm in a giving mood. You got to give them credit for the goal line stand. Texas just didn't play complimentary football. The Longhorns get that huge goal line stand, and then on the first play, it's a safety. All of a sudden, you give up 2 points, and your defense has to trot back on the field after they just got a huge stop for you. So the defense's struggles were in large part because the offense just couldn't sustain drives consistently enough. You did get the interception, obviously, at the end of double overtime. I'll go C+. Nah, I'm going C. You had it right, Bijan's Lambo. I'm going C. You can't give up 500 yards and get higher than a C. You can't let Cam Scadaboo do what you did and get higher than a C. Yeah, just frustrating. Once again, back-to-back games. Like Texas saw the best quarterback it's seen all year in Cade Klubnik. They saw the best running back it's seen all year in Cam Scatterbo. Now they're about to see the best team they've seen all year. Like it's true. Ohio State, they're more talented than Georgia, especially right now the way they're playing and the fact that Carson Beck is not playing for Georgia. I think Ohio State's the best team Texas has seen all year, and they've got the best receivers. I don't think Will Howard's better than Cade Klubnik. I think he's close. I don't think either of the Ohio State running backs are better than Cam Scatterbo. They're close. They're really good. But Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Ibuka, whoever you believe in, start saying your prayers now, because I know this Texas pass defense has been elite all season long, but these last 2 weeks have given me some hesitation about what Texas can do against those receivers and that passing game that has clearly found something since that embarrassing loss to Michigan at the end of the regular season. Man, yeah, it's about as frustrating of a win as you could find. But hey, it's survive and advance. Like a double overtime win counts the same as a win by 50. Sure as shit doesn't feel the same, but it counts the exact same. And Texas is moving on, and they're 2 wins away from a national championship. And I think anybody would have signed up for this before the season. Like, it's been a great year for Texas football. Even if they lose to Ohio State, that's going to be a little disappointing because they came up so close. And they came up just a little bit short. They got so close again, and they made it to the exact same spot they made it last season. So there's going to be some disappointment if next Friday is the final night of the 2024 Longhorn football team. But a lot to be proud of, man. It's been a really, really good season to win your first 2 playoff games ever. Hopefully it's this ride is not done. But point is, yeah, you're 2 wins away from a national championship. Anybody would have signed up for this at the start of the season. And okay, you knew you'd have to play somebody good if you made it to this spot. Now you've got to play a really good Ohio State team that spent a lot of money on their roster. A lot of money on their roster. And even though they've been up and down, they are on the very up and up right now. Scary time to be playing them. All right, keep the comments coming. I'm scrolling through my notes here to see if there's anything else that I wanted to mention. I feel like we've touched on just about everything. Maybe I lied about going a full hour. We might go 45 to 50 minutes, unless you guys have a few more questions. But what a wild ride this one was. What a wild ride this one was for Texas. They found a way, and they found a way. One of my TVs is freaking out over there. We're losing the BK Show logo. There it is. A screensaver action popped on. Cameron says, does the offensive line being a little bit banged up concern me? If the offensive line was fully healthy, I think I'd be concerned right now. Like I don't know what to make of them. It's not just the Georgia games now. Like, they struggled against Vanderbilt. They obviously struggled in this game. It's just way too up and down. And Cam Williams was missed. I felt like he probably would have committed a false start or two. Hell, Gooseby did. I felt like it was Cam Williams in Gooseby's uniform today, with the fact that the right tackle had a couple of pre-snap penalties. But, Kelvin Banks is a little banged up. He left the game, came back. I don't think Jake Majors is 100%. I don't know if it's injuries that has me concerned about this offensive line. I think it's just like you don't know what you're going to get from this group. And the fact that you were going up against an awesome Ohio State defense, especially with Jack Sawyer and JTT and all of the other cats they have on that defensive line. Yeah, the Texas O-line is going to have to play the game of its life. And they're capable of it, I think, but they are going to have to play significantly better. So, yeah, the O-line is a concern right now for me. And you don't have a super mobile quarterback in Quinn Ewers, although he did rush for a touchdown today, but he's not great at using his legs to extend plays. If this is a pocket passing Quinn Ewers game, you're going to need to give him a pocket to pass from. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, offensive line play. These games are all won and lost in the trenches. And why this game was so close today was because Arizona State won on both lines of scrimmage. They did. The offensive line, Arizona State ran for 214 yards. I thought that'd be Texas. It wasn't. Arizona State's O-line won. They had a bunch of 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 play drives that obviously killed a bunch of clock. And Texas, we talked about their offensive line just not being able to establish the run at all. 53 yards. Quinn Ewers sacked 9 times, 9 tackles for loss. Thought Texas would be the team that was disrupting the Arizona State offense, but instead, flip-flop. So, yeah, they needless to say, Texas has to play a much better game 1 week from Friday if they want to get back to Atlanta. And shit, of course, I want to get back to Atlanta, but I don't really like that building. That building might be cursed, man. Like, they don't let Bevo in there. Maybe that's what we blame. Like, if Bevo is on the sideline, maybe today's a little bit different. But 2 games in Atlanta, both games went to overtime. One game was obviously a loss in the SEC title game and a very frustrating performance. Today was a win in double overtime, but a very frustrating performance. Everybody knows the national championship game is inside that same dome. So, of course, you want to get there. But shit, you're going to have to play in that place a lot being in the SEC. And the Peach Bowl is going to be a playoff game every year, whether it's a quarterfinal or a semifinal game. So you might have to deal with that arena a lot. I don't know what it is about that place, but you can't just blame Georgia. Something weird in the water at that place right there. Thank y'all for the kind words. One quick question before we wrap this thing up. Once again, thank y'all. Please give this video a thumbs up if you haven't yet. Excited about the BK show and what's in store. And congrats to y'all. This thing's going to be big. I'm confident. We're going to blow this thing up. So thanks to y'all for being in on the ground floor. And congrats. You guys could say you were day ones for this channel. Asa asks, how do I feel about Georgia Notre Dame tomorrow? Yeah, I mean, obviously it sucks that this game is tomorrow for no reason other than what happened in New Orleans overnight. I mean, just a horrific scene. Brutal news to wake up to, and just seeing some of the videos that have come out over the course of the day. Just awful. Thoughts and prayers to everybody affected by that. Scary stuff right there. So, of course, y'all know this by now, but that Sugar Bowl game was pushed to tomorrow, I think at 3:00 Central Time. I got Georgia. I can't pick against Georgia. I just can't, at least not right now. I don't trust Notre Dame in big spots. I don't think I trust Riley Leonard against this defense. Outside of the Jeremiah Love 98-yard touchdown run, Notre Dame's offense really struggled against Indiana. Like, they averaged 4.3 yards per play on every other play in that football game. And even if you include that play, it was still like 5.67 yards per play against an Indiana defense that is not Georgia's defense. I don't know what we're going to get out of Gunnar Stockton. I think it's going to be an under. I don't think we're going to see a lot of points in this game, but I'm going to bank on Georgia's defense. I'm going to bank on Trevor Etienne and Georgia's running game being able to do enough. And I just don't believe in Riley Leonard enough to have Notre Dame beating Georgia. So I think it's going to be a great game. I don't know if there will be any game in the playoff that's as exciting as Texas Arizona State. If you were a neutral fan, congrats to you. You're probably not tuned in right now, but holy shit. If you're just like, I want to watch some good football on January 1st, I've got the day off of work, I just want to sit on my couch and get a good game. Yeah, you got that. You didn't get it last night. You didn't get it in the Rose Bowl at all. You got it in the Peach Bowl. So I think it'll be a good game tomorrow. One possession game, but long-winded answer, Asa. I'm going with the Dogs. Say 20-17. So low scoring, take the under. And UGA will meet Penn State in the other semifinal game. Thanks for the love, Angela. Appreciate it. Remember you. I know you've been a big fan for a long time. Thanks for checking out the BK show. Thanks to everybody for checking out the BK show. It's going to wrap up this video. We'll get everybody to bed early tonight. I'm going to go rewatch this game. I don't know why I'm going to do that to myself. Normally, the rewatches after wins are a lot of fun. I don't know if this one's going to be a lot of fun. There was nothing fun about watching that game in real time. I'm going to go rewatch it, though. The BK show will be back tomorrow. Of course, Bucky and I will be on Texas Sports Unfiltered tomorrow. Make sure y'all subscribe to that channel and download the free TSU app if you haven't done so already. But, yeah, what a game. Texas 39, Arizona State 31. The Longhorns moving on to the semifinal. They will take on the Ohio State University next Friday. They survived, and they advanced. Appreciate the love. Thank y'all so much for watching. And remember, when you listen and watch the BK show, you rule. See y'all tomorrow.